a reconnection with our hormonal cycle, because in society it's really not spoken about. It's not, let's say, it's not clarified that especially women are very governed by their hormonal cycle. Men as well, but the fact that, women have very intense periods, or, very intense mood swings before getting on their period, that's not normal. And that's happening on a collective level, because all these women are forced to operate according to a man's schedule, because this is the real difference. A male hormonal cycle, which is not a cycle, it's a linear pattern. You see it. The levels of burnout are ridiculous. The levels of women not being satisfied with their body, being overweight, constantly going on diets, going on these things, they're wasting all their energy on, having to fit in a certain body, image that has been placed by society upon us.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilo Torres, and welcome again to Flowcast. In here, we're going to have amazing conversations with the beautiful people that has joined our community. We're going to get a lot of inspirations for their life journeys, passions, creations, because we believe that when you share your unique story, you can inspire others. So please enjoy this new Flowcast, and also I would love to invite you to join our community. And if you would like to share your story, please go to our website, flowwithcommunity.com, for more information. Thank you. So please welcome Clea den Hartog. Hi, Clea.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being part of the community. And it's a pleasure for me for you to share the story and learn from you.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And I'm very grateful to be part of this, to be part of Flow community, mainly because for me, flow is a very important aspect in my personal life. And it's something, that I also thrive for within myself, but that I also thrive to share with others.
Nice, love it.
We'll get into that.
And then since we met, I have following you on LinkedIn and on your website, and I love what you're doing. You are a creative well-being practitioner. So I would love to know a little bit more about that, about your journey and what it takes you to do that.
Well, it really starts with my personal journey of finding clarity in my body, my mind, and my spirit. And just to define clarity, to me, clarity means a state of optimal well-being. So it's that state which is very, very similar to what other people would call the flow state. So it's a state where everything just feels right, it's aligned, it's centered, it's calm. The nervous system is calm, but at the same time, we feel alive, we feel agile, it's that state where, everything just flows and it's clear. And it's literally, that's why clarity means, clear. The channels can flow. And it's like, I see it. If you have a pipeline that's stuck, at a point, the pipeline is there's no water running out of the tap. The pipeline will explode. The water will start to smell, become stagnant. But if the pipelines are clear and everything can literally flow, then, it's going. And that can be applied to our physical body, our cardiovascular system, our blood is flowing, our breath, if we have a fluid breath, we feel so alive, we feel so good. We can actually receive, let's say, the life force that life is giving us, our fuel, our, the thing that makes us wake up and, go to bed and take care of ourselves. And that can also be applied to the mind. If we have clear thoughts, we don't really overthink. We think, we do, we operate. But the moment the thought gets stuck, that's, where we get into a pattern of overthinking.
Yeah.
And, and then, we get anxiety, we get paranoia, we get like the fears are coming up. And the same goes, I feel, for the spirit. If our spirit is fluid and connected to the higher divine, or connected to whatever it is that you personally believe in, then there is this connection with yourself, with you and I, with the other. So it coming back to your question, let's say my desire to find this state of clarity, and I call it a state of clarity because my name is Claire. So hence why, it's very personal. The aspect of clarity is very, very personal, but it's also very universal, because I realized throughout my life that it's something that we are all thriving for. We're all thriving for that sense of fulfillment, that sense of, some magic, some activation, and that sense of, feeling alive. And that's why we drink coffee. That's why, society drinks alcohol. That's why society smokes. That's why there's so much, like search for adrenaline, that little feeling, that little second of being like, oh, okay, I feel alive.
Yeah.
But that's very momentary. But a state of clarity, like, at least for myself, I try to find different ways. So in my personal journey, I've really tried to find the tools, methodologies, the teachers that would teach me to basically fine-tune my life and constantly recalibrate. Maybe I have to turn on a switch, maybe I have to turn off something, maybe I have to add something, maybe I have to remove something, to find that state of clarity in myself. Because let's say from quite a young age, beginning like my teenage years, I went through a lot of difficulties with my relationship with myself, which I think is also a universal thing, when once we hit puberty, and especially I feel as a girl, as a woman in the society, there's so much pressure. Things are unknown, there's the unknown, there's the fear of like, oh, what's happening next? And, we try to find ways to control and to cope. And I realized that, like I was seeking for these coping mechanisms, sometimes not very constructive, but thank God I found a very constructive an actual coping mechanism, which was yoga. So from, I did my first yoga lesson when I was 14, when I actually went by myself. I grew up in Belgium, and I took my bike, and I don't know, I think at the organic store, I saw a little flyer, saying yoga studio, join here. And I grew up with a mom and also a grandmother that have always been practicing yoga, and a very, like, living a very healthy lifestyle connected to nature and the seasons. So, I always saw my mom, let's say, doing some yoga as she was cooking, or, we sometimes had a yoga teacher come to the house, and then she was like, girls, my sisters and I join. So I would join, but it's very different. This specific moment in my life really pinpoint, I would say, a personal change, because the desire and the actual action to take myself to that yoga class came from me. I took my bike and I biked to the yoga studio, which ended up being in my street. And then, it was a vinyasa yoga class. And it was I would say, I was very stressed out. I was suffering from a lot of migraines. I had exams, and, I was very in this perfectionistic way of being. I could only for myself, I was placing so much pressure on myself. I could only get 100%. I remember I would get 99% and like crying, coming home, not being able to fall asleep. So I was in this very, like, I would say, like, masculine, kind of scared little girl, 40. My body was changing. I didn't know what was going on, all these hormones happening. So, and then I find myself on my yoga mat, and after the Shavasana, so after, let's say, the final meditation, opening my eyes, like even now, I feel this whole feeling of, that was the first time that I really felt this state of clarity.
Wow.
And I felt reborn. And I remember the bike ride. I would always challenge myself to bike without hands, like, because you have to activate your core, and it's like literally you have to balance. And I biked the whole thing like 10 minutes without hands.
Wow.
Yeah. The memory is really coming back now, actually. It's so vivid. And I biked from the yoga studio to my home, which it was like 10-minute bike ride. And I even managed to like bike without hands, because the last part like is through a little forest entering my home, and it was still like bumpy, but I was like, no, I was like, oh, I feel so aligned. And that's also a reflection of, I believe that whatever we do in life, may it be as micro as, making your bed, or as micro as the
Mhm.
way you make, you brush your teeth the first thing in the morning, is also a reflection of your macro being.
Mhm.
So that's, all these things, and I was like, oh, and I went to bed, my headache, then my headaches left, my migraines left. Also, the way I was treating my body, I started eating more, let's say, more awareness. And then I would go, like maybe, twice a week, and then I would go like 4 times a week. And then in the weekends I had some workshops. So then I started integrating it into my visual arts. So I'm a creative well-being practitioner. So this is where, it's very clear that to me, well-being and creativity, they come hand in hand. They're part of the same thing. Because I'm a very creative person, I would say that, like, yes, I'm an artist. I wouldn't say that I'm just like a visual artist, not necessarily, but I would say that I'm a real artist in the sense that I like to do everything, with my heart and soul. Um, and I like to make, yeah, I like to like make all my actions like into a little work of art. Like even the sense of biking, the sense that I do this thing and I apply some, let's say, some movement, and I apply some like neural, biology into it, like me not biking without my hands. And it becomes like a meditation. Like even when I drive, I like to drive in a particular, like I have like all these things that actually become a little like artwork. So that's when I started to really get into my visual arts also at school. And then I would apply all the philosophies of yoga and the chakras and the Kundalini energies. And I would start, like researching the Ayurvedic philosophies and the Vedas and the yogic scriptures. And then integrating that with, let's say, artistic principles of abstract expressionism, of color field abstraction. And one of my favorite artists is Mark Rothko. And then I would integrate Mark Rothko in my work as, as inspiration. And then I started doing yoga, more and more. And as you do something often, practice does make, not perfect, but, it started to become part
Part
of
of
my
you.
natural
Yeah.
lifestyle. I find myself doing yoga in the garden, being surrounded by nature. And then all of a sudden, I had an atelier, like with all my family has like a little garden house with all the paints and all the things. And I was like, wait a second. And I remember this, like, as I was like in a downward facing dog, I get myself like out of the yoga practice. I grab some paints. I saw like a big piece of paper, and I put the paper on the grass, and then I started putting paint on my hands, and I started doing my yoga, my sun salutations, my yoga practice with the paint on my hands and on my feet. Because in that period of my time, in my life, I was in high school. I was in my last year of high school, and visual arts was one of my major subjects. And I was researching Yves Klein, the artist Yves Klein, who does a lot of body his works are called anthropometrie. So he did a lot of body performances, and also like, so using the body as a tool, as a vehicle to then create an artwork. So he would use other bodies, mainly women. He would paint them, and then the women, they did a beautiful dance, like body performance.
Wow.
And then, you know, like placing their bodies on either on a wall or a canvas or on a piece of paper. So then I really got into this, you know, this way of expressing myself, which became also, it's through yoga I can express my body, I can integrate within my body. And then I was like, okay, I feel so integrated within myself. How can I now express this? How can I capture this moment of clarity for other people to witness? And then, you know, like naturally speaking, I was like, and then I had this big piece of paper size of my body with this like beautiful, you know, abstract representation of that particular yoga session. And I would say that that really, to me, that is creative well-being.
Wow. I love it. Wow, this is
Yeah, and
amazing.
that, you know, that it's the first time that I'm really putting these things together. Um, yeah, so that's, yeah, and you know, I share that, you know, with my clients, with my students, in different ways, because, you know, creativity is, the word already says it, like it's already in the word. Create, like it's creation in itself. So everyone, you know, on this, in this earth, on this earth, has his or her own way, specific way of, you know, like feeling creative, being creative, and then also expressing that. But yeah, so I help others to find that sense of aliveness, that sense of passion,
Mhm.
love. Passion is directly connected to the heart. And yeah, and I do that through, you know, through like embodiment practices, which are very rooted in the yogic philosophies, through yoga, breathwork, meditations, which the meditations, you know, they also target the mind, they target the emotions. I studied art therapy, also, you know, first, you know, to apply it to myself, but now I integrate a lot of art therapy also in the practices. So this is really, you know, a way of using our creativity, our expression, to express our own emotions first to ourselves. And, you know, once you have it on paper or on anything, you know, things become more clearer, literally. So we recreate clarity of what it is that we are actually feeling inside, because often, you know, the feelings are so abstract, and it's like, what is this feeling? Um, and then, you know, eventually it also creates clarity in the spirit.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all your story. And I loved it. Like, it's incredible because I mean, I have a lot of, well, I think I completely agree with you. I love what, well, you always connect spirit, mind, and body. And this is amazing. And also, well, I think that your story about yoga and for you to design for yourself going there, that's like I guess is the first moment that you let it flow. Because I guess before, because you told us that your mom used to do yoga and you were doing it, but it wasn't feeling it within you, right? And then when it's the moment that you feel it with your heart and you want to do it, you don't force it, you just let it flow, and then it makes you awake. And I love that. And also, I mean, so much you said that it's incredible about creativity, that 100% with you. I think creativity, when we express ourselves authentically, it helps a lot with our spirit, with our bodies, with everything, with our health as well. So creativity is so essential for human beings, and I think we need to all light up that creativity.
I agree. I agree. And we are only, I mean, we are only alive because we are literally a product of creativity, of creation. You
100.
know, the act of two separate bodies creating you know, a new human being. Like that to me is, and birth, you know, like the actual act of a woman giving birth. Like that to me is the prime example, the most primitive example of creativity.
Mhm. I love it.
And it's beautiful because, you know, like, yeah, creativity in itself is, at the same time we're creating something new, but still using, other elements, because we cannot create anything. Everything is already there. Everything is already energy. If you look at it from a spiritual perspective, if you look at it from a very scientific perspective, it's already there. We just have to, it's a combination. We have to, the puzzle pieces have to fit, but then there's a synergy. If you look at cooking, cooking, there's synergy. You combine different flavors. If you look at merely painting, you combine different colors. If you look at a language is made out of tones, words, syllables, letters. We have an alphabet, which is very just, those are the primitive ingredients of a language. And then, someone was like, oh, let us combine these letters. Oh, we have a word. Oh, okay, then you combine words, you have phrases, you combine sentences, you get a paragraph, and then all of a sudden you get a page. And then, that becomes a chapter. It can be super informative. It can go into the way of it being very poetic and artistic. So yeah, creativity is really, I would say it's the basis of everything, upon which everything is created. And that is creativity in itself.
100%. Wow, yeah, thank you so much. And going back to where you were sharing about your teen, well, when you went for yoga and you were in your teen life. And then, well, I wanna also mention because about your hormonal cycle, because you said that your body was doing a lot of changes. It's important, and I think it's important to highlight this because this topic hasn't been talked as much in that level, in the level of how important is our hormonal cycle, men, women, and how to respect it. So I would love to know, what do you think about that? What it's at the moment, how that connects with spirit, mind, and body, and yeah, how is your point of view?
Definitely. Our hormonal cycle is so important, especially for women. I would say that, first of all, it's and that's also, I'm also specialized in hormonal endocrine yoga. And I work a lot with women, especially, working on establishing, let's say, a reconnection with our hormonal cycle, because in society, it's really not spoken about. It's not, let's say, it's not clarified that especially women are very governed by their hormonal cycle. Men as well, but the main difference between a female hormonal cycle and a male hormonal cycle is that the female cycle is 28 days. It's called the infradian rhythm. And every day within that 28-day cycle is different. So the levels of estrogen, progesterone, and all the other hormones are constantly changing. They're not the same. So from day one in the female hormonal cycle, day one will look very different from day 14. Very complete, is different side of the spectrum. That's why, that's why women, are sometimes perceived as being crazy. You look at all these soap operas and you look at all the TV shows or the movies, women are always depicted as these hormonal, moody bitches. And not always, but it's become a stereotype. And it's actually very normal because, the fact that we have to go through all these fluctuations in a society that is literally linear. We are living, society is linear, it's a grid. If you look at the calendar, it's a Gregorian calendar. It's literally, it's a rectangle with lines and squares from Monday till Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, and it's line, 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 line. It's literally, you can envision it. It's a literal grid. So women who are actually circles, because we cycle through these hormones, 28-day cycle is connected to the 28-day cycle of the moon. The infradian rhythm, the female hormonal cycle, is connected to the lunar cycle. That's why, back in the day, or still in communities, women would be, I am on my moon. When they're menstruating, they say, I'm on my moon, because it's connected to the full moon and the new moon. But we've lost that. We've lost that connection with nature, with the moon, and then, with our own female natural self. We've lost that connection in society. So us women being circles, I see us as circles cycling around. We're placed in a little grid, and we're forced to become a square, which we're not. And that creates the moment we don't follow our natural, let's say, like our natural state of existence. Things go wrong. It's whatever, everything is manipulated. The body doesn't feel comfortable, the mind, the spirit doesn't feel comfortable. So that's why there is, collectively speaking, there's a huge rising of hormonal imbalance. So many women that are dealing with PCOS, endometriosis, in, even, let's say, I forgot the word, even the fact that, women have very intense periods, or, very intense mood swings before getting on their period. That's not normal. And that's happening on a collective level, because all these women are forced to operate according to a man's schedule, because this is the real difference. A male hormonal cycle, which is not a cycle, it's a linear pattern, goes down, up and down, up and down. It's directly connected to our circadian rhythm, to the 24-hour clock. That's why, they say work out in the morning. That's why on a society's work day starts at 9. We have to be at 9 at the office, and it ends at 5. Why is that? Because a male's peak performance of productivity is, let's say, around 10, 12. True. And, at 4 starts to go down. It starts to go down, the energy level. So it's that time of happy hour. Why is happy hour at 6? Unwind, relax, eat, sleep. And then, early morning, and then testosterone levels are super high. So it's great to hit the gym. It's great to work on your muscles, all the muscle, the body is, full of energy. And then you start your work day, but that's not the same. That cannot be applied to a female's ecosystem.
I mean, what you said is, it's very connected with the flow of life. And I think for the female cycle, the hormonal cycle, what's happening is just forcing another type of cycle. That's why it's generating a lot of the issues for female gender. So yeah, I get that.
And that is and that's affecting the fertility of all these women. And what is fertility? It's our level of creativeness, our level of creativity. Fertility is literally our ability to be able to create new life, but not only new life in the form of a child, also new life in the form of creative projects, of art, of anything creative. And, that's why there's a huge block in all these women. There's a huge block in, you see it. The levels of burnout are ridiculous. The levels of women not being satisfied with their body, being overweight, constantly going on diets, going on these things, they're wasting all their energy on, having to fit in a certain body, image that has been placed by society upon us. And then, it's this constant state of, I would say, they're going again, well, we have to go, and now speaking we, as a collective, let's say female, population, we are forced to, as you already mentioned, to swim against the current, to go against the flow of our natural state of being. Our natural state of being is to actually go through these 28 days. Yes, some of which it's great. We have really high levels in the morning. So then it's great. We can hit the gym, we can do our intermediate fasting, we can, we can do this, we can be productive, we can get all our shit done. But then, like the days before our period, we have to sleep in. It's better to go, instead of going for a run, instead of activating our cardiovascular system, we have to actually tap into our nervous system. We have to do the yin yoga, the meditation, sleeping in, planning the weight training in the afternoon, not in the morning, like kind of, being more inwards, nurturing, cooking, taking care of the garden, taking care of our children, of our friends. So we women are forced to swim against the current, and we're not supposed to. And as you might know, swimming against the current is very, very tiring. It drains. It's draining. It sucks all the energy out of us. And the only animal in nature that is naturally designed to swim against the current is a salmon. Salmon hatch their eggs and they mate by swimming against the current. Don't ask me why, but that's the only animal in nature that's designed to do that. We're not salmon. So it's very, going back to your question, it's very important to be aware. That's why I'm so passionate about educating. One of my main sessions and my workshops that I do are these cyclical living masterclasses. It's all about teaching women how to live their life in this cyclical way of being, how to undo all these things that have been programmed in our society, and we have to unlearn, decondition, and then we can put our new conditioner into our hair with actual good conditioner. I'm blonde. I'm not going to put conditioner in for dark hair. Like, no, it doesn't work. So it's all about, so I'm very, very, very passionate about re-educating women, especially young girls in their 14, like in the beginning of their teenage years, mainly because I found myself in that state of not being educated. I had no idea.
And thank you so much. And this is amazing. And I've been educated. And I think as a collective, I think you have an amazing power to also educate men, because even we are a collective, and as a collective, we cannot just separate ourselves, men, and not respect also your cycle. And as you said, I'm completely agree. I mean, the society is been a masculine energy designed around, and the feminine energy is being left out. So 100%, I think it's important to share this knowledge, and thank you so much for sharing this with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And anyway, where can we find you, and where people can find your services, Claire?
Yes, so you can find me on my Instagram at Clarity Collective. So CLARITY Collective. And that's, the collective where I share all, I share yoga practices, meditations, recipes. So I'm also very into nurturing our body with healing foods that actually help our hormones to rebalance. So, nutrition is a very important pillar in that as well. And then you can also find me on my website, which is www.clarity-collective.com. And there you can also apply, you can inquire for private sessions. So working with me one-on-one. You can also join my online group sessions. So these cyclical masterclasses or moon ceremonies. So for every full moon and new moon, I organize a ceremony online. And even though it's online, it's as if you are, part of the circle. And I believe that energy can be really, transferred through a screen if it's authentic, if it's real. And I do everything, I try my best to do everything from a place of authenticity. And so on my website, you can also find my contact details, my email, if you have any questions.
Super. I will make sure that in the description of this podcast, I write all your contact details. And
Perfect.
before we finish, I have 3 questions for you. I think, well, the question is being responded during our conversation, but let's play it very quickly before we finish. So I have 3 questions. You can answer with one word or one short sentence. The questions are the following. What is creativity for you?
In one sentence. Creativity is the force of creation upon which everything can be created from.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. What is your current creative expression?
My current creative expression, currently it's really the cooking. So creating very nourishing dishes for myself, for others, for my friends, for, sometimes my clients as well, my students. That's really, I feel so creative in the kitchen, not only in the kitchen, but sourcing my ingredients, and, I get ideas, and it tastes like I love to, not currently, I'm really all about combining tastes that in my mind would really not, let's say, work well. So, and then finding that new fusion, and that in the process feels like, like I'm creative. It feels so creative. It's like a fireworks that explodes.
I love it. Wow, thank you. And what the word flow means for you?
Yes, flow. So flow to me is a state of ultimate presence where time disappears. Past, present, future is just one. It's feeling so present, so aligned. Everything feels literally fluid. Everything is going exactly as it is supposed to be. Everything is aligned. Everything is falling into place. And it's like, oh, it would be like, oh, I take the wrong turn, and my GPS is telling me, you have to turn around. But then all of a sudden, I see the store, that sells the olive oil that I've been looking for the past 2 years. So it's that state where everything literally flows, and it's easy. There's no resistance. And it's this state where things just unfold. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And of course, you're all welcome if you want to share more of your story. And I love everything you shared. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilo. Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank you
being
so
here.
much, everyone, for listening. Bye.
Bye.